Finally tonight, what should students have to study in college? A study released this week concluded that college seniors lack basic knowledge of American and world history and literature. In a survey conducted by the Gallup organization, 24% of college seniors thought Columbus landed after the year 1500. 42% could not place the Civil War in the correct half-century. Only 42% knew that Plato was the author of The Republic. Only 26% knew that Dostoevsky wrote Crime and Punishment. The National Endowment for the Humanities, which released the report, is urging universities and colleges to make students take a core curriculum to remedy such gaps. We have three college presidents with different views on that. Michael Sovereign is the president of Columbia University in New York City. Columbia has long required its students to take certain courses in the humanities and Western civilization. Vartan Gregorian is the new president of Brown University, which has no core requirements. He joins us from station WSBE in Rhode Island. Audrey Cohen is the founder and president of the College for Human Services in New York. Vartan Gregorian, first of all, what do you think the survey really means? What does it reveal?
This is not something new, because for many years we have known about the fact that our general education lags in the country. As a matter of fact, the last 8 years, I have been going around the country and discussing about the fact that we have a national amnesia about our past. What the report raises is a fundamental point, and I like to stress it and to thank Lynn Cheney, my friend, for having given this provocative survey. But what his solutions are subject to debate, not to prognosis. For example, this is not something new about America. We even have the same phenomenon in England and indeed in France. Mr. Baker, the Secretary of Education of Great Britain, has also issued a report urging 10 core courses to be held in all the high schools. Because my belief is that Lynn Cheney's diagnosis is right. Our high schools should produce educated Americans, educated citizens, and therefore I would urge that we do require our high schools to do all of those things that Lynn Cheney recommends. I am not for rendering our institutions of higher learning into becoming remedial institutions in order to do the work that 12 years of high school education has been unable to do for Americans.
Okay. Lynn Cheney, that Vartan Gregorian refers to, is the head of the National Endowment for Humanities that inspired this. Michael Sovereign, do you see the findings of this survey as really pointing the finger at high schools, not colleges?
Well, it has several elements. I agree with Vartan Gregorian that it does reflect to a substantial degree failures at the primary and secondary level. But as you know, we at Columbia have for many years held to the tradition, in Lionel Trilling's words, that there is a certain minimum of our intellectual and spiritual tradition that students should experience and understand. It is not a commitment that has students learning random facts. It has them engaging the great texts of Western history, politics, philosophy, as well as some of the great literature, music, art. We hope that they will learn to write from the writing courses we offer, Master of Foreign Language. The commitment is to prepare students for a world in which they will continue to learn, in which they will be informed citizens able to grapple with the complex issues of a contemporary society with a background of intensive exploration of those issues through some of the leading works and the best minds in all of recorded history.
What do you think, Ms. Cohen, this survey showing such a weakness in certain areas among a sampling of college seniors, what do you think it tells us?
Well, on the one hand, I think it is distressing that we don't have the common language that some writers have referred to that would help us move forward into the next decades. On the other hand, I think that the way colleges and high schools and even elementary schools try to deal with the problem that comes out of these studies is an ancient solution. And I would really wonder why we have to go back to have a core curriculum, for instance, which was very prominent in the 50s and into the 60s, and why we have to assume that an old solution to a problem of a new kind of society is going to work. What we have today is, as we're all pretty aware, is this global high-tech service economy. And what I don't hear my colleagues discussing is a new kind of education that would really help us take the great ideas, the great works, and relate them in some way to the new kind of skills that we need.
I'm going to ask you in a minute about a core curriculum, but first of all, do you think that the facts that this survey revealed so few, or relatively few, college seniors knew are important facts?
Well, some of them would be useful, I suppose, to have us all know. But on the other hand, why aren't we very distressed that we're not learning enough about Eastern culture? Why aren't we learning about the global society in which we live? That, to me, I think is rather frightening, that we are focusing on a few facts of our own Western history. Now, I think it's important to understand some of the concepts of the great thinkers, but not necessarily some of these extraneous details. That's a kind of pumping of knowledge into the individual. And what I want to see is an opportunity for someone to have great ideas from the past and be able, hopefully, to identify the person who gave you that idea, but use it.
I'm trying to find out, first of all, you have a core curriculum at Columbia. Does your core curriculum implant the kind of facts that the seniors in this survey didn't know?
Not as a deliberate design.
If they took your core curriculum, would they do well in this survey?
Well, we require all our students to know when Columbus discovered America because we named the university after him. But yes, I think they would do well in this survey because in order to appreciate the significance of many ideas, one has to know something about their historical context. So we don't give them a book of facts. But in order to engage some of the critical thinkers, you have to know when they were writing and thinking, in what environment they were advancing these ideas. And so the process has, as one of its distillates, at least a backbone of historical data on which to hang all of the various thoughts, problems, and issues that they do study.
So you agree with Lynn Cheney of the National Endowment? A core curriculum in colleges is the answer to this kind of gap.
I agree with part of what you say. I would not choose to emphasize the factual deficiencies, and the linkage between the factual deficiencies and the need for a core curriculum is not demonstrable. I believe in the importance of a core curriculum because I believe that the exposure to the ideas, and let me emphasize also the method. In other words, we don't run them past these ideas and say, hey, there's Plato and there's a Vermeer. We work in small groups. We read the actual texts. They are discussed in depth. And that kind of experience, in our judgment, and in the judgment of our alumni, who are the satisfied customers, prepares young people to address the complex problems that this world presents.
What is your answer, Vartan Gregorian, to Lynn Cheney? I know that you say remedy the high schools, but when she says that colleges need a core curriculum, you don't have a core curriculum at Brown.
Well, we have a highly structured academic majors. 81 of our majors require highly structured courses as well as theses. As a matter of fact, even though we don't have a core curriculum, I just checked some of the statistics in order to compare to Lynn Cheney's findings. 98% of our students take natural sciences, 63% of our students take mathematical sciences, 60% foreign languages, 82% English, and 70% in history. So that we have a de facto, in a sense, general liberal education. This coming year is the 20th anniversary of Brown's curriculum, and I have requested a major review of our curriculum to see whether or not we have succeeded in producing or educating liberally educated person at Brown, and to see what our weaknesses are, and accordingly to move forward. 85% of our students, as you well know, Robin, come from 10% of the top 10% of their high schools. So my stance is very simple. I do agree with Lynn Cheney, and let me quote from the preamble of the report. the one intolerable thing in education is the absence of intellectual design. We do have an intellectual design, but we are asking the colleges to provide scientifically literate people, socially literate people, technologically literate people, and so on and on and on, all in 4 years, and at the same time 2 years of which to be dedicated to remedial work. We are higher education, not remedial education centers. Nobody would accuse Oxford University not to provide a good education, even though when you go and read into one subject. And my main thing is that this nation cannot allow waste. So we better shape up our high schools, elementary schools, and all the other community colleges in order to provide the foundations on the basis of which we'll build our structure.
How do you answer Lynn Cheney and the National Endowment of Humanities?
Well, I would like to see a totally different system developed, because I think the world has changed sufficiently and we need something new that relates the great ideas. I am not against the great ideas, the great works, the humanities, the liberal arts, the sciences, but I would like to see them taught in relationship to a purpose each semester. I would like to see us, instead of starting with the disciplines and departments, which is a mirror image of an industrial economy's kind of factory system, I would like us to say, what is it in this new world that people need to be able to do? And then focus each semester on that purpose, and then relate in a very structured way, in a core kind of way, from perhaps 5 courses, which is what we do at the College for Human Services, a look at that purpose, and then ask the student, take that purpose, such as researching and communicating effectively, or managing tasks and projects effectively. Take that purpose, studying it from Spinoza, from Freud, from Machiavelli, whomever is appropriate for that purpose, and take it and do something significant to improve the world with it.
Would you feel that a student who graduated from your college, would you feel that he or she was a failure in your eyes if he didn't know in which half-century the American Civil War happened?
No, I would not. But
you would not think
I would
he a
not
failure.
Consider him or her a failure. However, I would consider someone who did not know how to take ideas and build them into something that made a positive improvement in the world a failure. That is my standard, and that is the result I would look for, and I look for it every semester.
Now, you're not dealing with your student body in the top 10% of the country's leading high schools. You're dealing with a lot of youngsters who haven't had those advantages and haven't gone to some of those high schools.
That is
right?
true.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we do get a wide range of students, and they do test some of them at the very highest range. Many of them are more in the middle.
Yeah. When you looked at this report, and it came out the other day, and you looked at all the things that journalists were raising their eyebrows about and deploring, oh, they didn't know this and didn't know that, did you say to yourself, that doesn't matter?
No, I would not say it doesn't matter, and I would certainly think that it would be useful for people to know some of those. On the other hand, to have multiple choice tests to prove whether in fact you are an educated person, it, to me, is anathema. I would like to see a different kind of structure. I think in a world where we have to produce for other human beings, where we have to serve other people, and that understanding, I think, is very, very important to me, to be able to do that effectively, flexibly, to problem solve in that regard, to be able to work effectively in groups to do that. That is the educated person.
So do you think that Columbia University, which uses the old-fashioned system that you referred to earlier, you think it's not educating people in a way that's relevant to this society?
Well, I think it is educating in an old-fashioned manner, and I think it is, a fine school, but I do not think it has moved effectively into the last part of the 20th century, no.
How do you respond to that?
I was counting on you asking that question. In fact, one of the interesting things about our core curriculum is its constant change. We have, in fact, had a parallel sequence in Oriental civilizations for roughly 40 years before people were concerned about expanding to other cultures. And we added a requirement recently that all of our students must take a extended course in the culture of at least one other civilization in addition to the Western civilization. We see our education as preparing our students for a lifetime. Today's seniors will reach their point of really significant influence along about the year 2010. we don't know what problems they'll be confronting. We know that long before then we'll have talking computers, grave fuel shortages, radical transformation in telecommunications, and a whole range of issues. What we want to do is be sure that they keep on teaching themselves between now and then, and that they have a background against which to test themselves when that moment of critical decision-making comes. They will, I hope, be ready.
Yes. Mr. Gregorian?
Can I jump in?
Yes. Hello?
Yes.
You wanted to...
I think one of the main problems that we face also is confusion between world civilization, Western civilization, and American civilization. World civilization and Western civilization are not identical, and American civilization and Western civilization are not identical. And we should be asking sometimes also our English brethren and sisters and the Spaniards and Italians and the Russians and the Dutch, what do they constitute the core of Western culture? We arbitrarily state for them what we think is the core of entire human civilization and entire Western civilization. The time has come up for us also to consult those whose heritage we appropriately consider to be part of humanity's civilization. At Brown, we think critical thinking, like Mike Sauer and I agree, is one of the most important things that one gets from a school, high school, as well as university. So we're like critically independent minds, or as I mentioned before, those who undergo the fatigue of judging for themselves rather than parroting facts without understanding their meaning or their context or their analysis. So I'm all for analysis rather than merely recitation.
I think we have an area of agreement here, and since we have it, I think we better leave. Michael Sauer, Audrey Cohen, Vartan Gregorian, thank you.